Hey everybody, I'm APH. Welcome back to Timberborn, where we are taking a look at our progress on our actual aqueduct. And our explosives are ready to explode. Now there is a few little changes that have happened between episodes. We've installed some pipe work in here to get power actually moving down to our hub down here during times of drought, as all of our windmills did finish. This area is looking pretty nice. We got a paper mill here. We're getting ready to place in an actual newsstand over here. We also placed in another monument over here. Let's go ahead and bring up our actual hub. The actual first labor monument. And we're ready to unlock the actual flame of progress. I think that's pretty important. And we prepped this spot right here between episodes 4. So let's go ahead and plop that down. Taking a look. Again, this is going to be a short video because this series, I'm more of a survivalist fan, and there's not a whole lot of survival in Timberborn in normal mode. So we're going to be progressing in the next episode. We're going to be restarting under the other faction, and we're going to be going under another map, a different map. Let's go ahead and level this one more down. Yeah, look at all that go. Absolutely phenomenal. I love that they made it so you can level things like that. Allergies are still just kicking my butt as my voice is still a little bit rough. Let's go ahead and get this area all queued up for more. I'm starting to notice that there is some little specks where the game stutters. So if I place like a big chunk of actual dynamite like that, I'm noticing where the game is not optimized, which is okay because it's early access, and I kind of expect some of that things. The other is, I've noticed the paper, today when I signed in, there was an update, and it's got rollers on the top. The other day when I logged in, there was paper on top of the actual paper mills hanging out to dry. And the roller was at the end. So I've noticed that they're tweaking some actual textures there. In the update today, they tweaked decorations, adding in 3 different fences, and they changed the bench itself so it no longer gives an actual bonus where, you know, the others give kind of that area of effect. So I placed benches in here, hoping that it would get, you know, some aesthetics, and what I've noticed is my aesthetics actually dropped down a little bit. Now I've placed a few things which has brought it back up, which is good to know, but I was really surprised to see that it dropped like that. The reservoir is getting close, and we're gonna close this off to the same 4 wide as right here. This area is pretty well ready for a district. That's about as far as I'm going to go on this. I might do like some like caveats where we kind of do like a stand-in and actually show like the bringing down of this. And this is probably going to be my actual test city, as it's pretty easy and pretty simple. And there's a lot to like just kind of maintaining. So the other faction is becoming quickly my favorite faction, and it's a lot harder. It's a lot, it's more interesting, to be honest, as well as there's just, so I'm an industrialist at heart. I kind of get picked on when I play Ark about it, that all my buildings are industrial. So let's switch over to my test city real quick, and we'll take a look at what we're going to do, as in the next episode, we're going to start a new game. So let's load up the actual test one real quick. All right. So this right here, over the weekend when I had no voice, I kind of started playing around with I believe it's the Iron Teeth. Horrible with names. Don't ask me to remember. It takes me like 4 or 5 times talking to somebody to remember, but it's very, very like just look at this right here. These are my storage, and they kind of just rotate back and forth where it's left, right, and kind of zooming in here, we've got all of our staircase up to our city, which is built on top of a reservoir. And I got to tell you, like, the thought of these guys are so bent on vertical that it's easy to build. I routed the water, so it's all routed the way that I want it. And I built almost exclusively on the actual water. Now I did kind of square up this area, and underneath here, let's see if we can take it down a level to see the water in there. Yeah, this whole area is water, as this is the actual entryway. And again, you can see like all the different wet work in there. So slowly, let's bring up, let's take this back up to the infinity mark. Slowly what I'm doing is building the wall around here so that I can connect it over here. And what I'm actually doing is taking down this section to the same height as this section. And then we're going to, once the city's wrapped all the way around, it's going to be food in the center with trees around the outside is kind of the goal for this city. But, you know, you start, the main base was here and we moved it. So for those of you that don't know, you can actually move your district, and this says District 4, but it's actually my only district. I've just moved it 4 times. So I moved it up to the top. We've got just a rooftop terrace just because it doesn't really affect it. I just thought that it actually looked good. And then we've got some decorations. Kids, I think, are the only thing that take effect from the actual social. Yeah, kids get, I believe, if it will pull it up. Well, they changed something because looking at it, it's not actually giving me the tooltip. They changed the whole entire UI where it shows basic needs, nutrients, awe, and happiness. And before, when you'd hover over the stars, it would actually tell what they are. Let's see if they moved it over here. They have not. Iron teeth. I called them iron tooth earlier. So that's something different. Let's see if an adult actually shows it. Yeah, it doesn't actually show it anymore, which is kind of a bummer. But you get the actual plus over here. Something kind of new with today's patch. So hopefully, you know, either hopefully that's a menu option that we can show that, or hopefully that is something that, I don't know, maybe they adjusted it a little bit, but I'm happy to see that they broke it down. This might mean that in time we can actually collapse these and look at them a little bit different. And it now shows where they're living and their actual, I think it showed their workplace before, but you know, I'm liking kind of the way they're doing that. So for those of you who haven't played the Iron Teeth, they use breeding pods instead of actually breeding through population, which is part of why it's interesting, because like this is my berry bush in order to maintain the actual breeding, and without berries they just die. So this took a little bit of time to actually engineer, and what I forgot to do is once you grow them the size you want, you can actually get rid of the ground underneath it, because berry bushes don't go away. So we can clear this area, and now it just looks like regular ground again, which is something that I've actually suggested to people. Is it looks a little bit different that way in comparison to the whole tilled, but because of their tall style, I like them a lot better. So this is the progress that we're going to be making. Is we're probably going to move into ridge or lakes in the next episode, which will probably come out in the next day or two. I am in the process of getting a different job, so it's kind of been a lot of running around in kind of preparation for that. But let's just kind of go over the city real quick, because there's a lot here. So we've got the actual carnival, or the carousel carnival. If I could speak. Which is driven by a pipework of actual power that runs all the way around the outside. And it kind of continues all the way to right here where I've stopped it. I've got plans to run it across the top. I just had to, because of these houses here, I had to move it up at least for right there, and haven't decided to move it down yet. This area is coming together, and so we'll kind of skip. This is all industrial log piles. And slowly, just like this stack of industrial log piles, slowly it's becoming full, because they're just really good at actually, you know, tracking everything down. Unlike the folktail, they have an actual engine that burns wood. It burns 24 wood per day, so it needs to actually harvest 3 maple per day to maintain 1 engine. I gotta tell you, it's actually pretty efficient to run it. If you were gonna go for a gameplay where you just didn't even care about water power, it's probably doable. And so it's 200 horsepower in comparison to these produce about 180. So it's about a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's a lot bigger. So you got to be careful on how you actually maintain them, but it means you can build pockets. So starting here, we've got our actual bakery and our crisp mill. Then we've got a builder's hut, as you know, it is just epic amount of building. Our 2 lumber mills, again, fed by the water wheels. We've got our water towers all compacted in there. Our first set of row houses, and they're the large ones with a little roof on the top, and our first monument. We've got our gear workshop. Oh, and something I didn't actually show you is underneath the actual lumber mill is a storehouse, and they're set up specifically to store what's on top of them. So like these are set up for planks. As we come over here, there's a walkway on top of it, so you can't see it as well. You can try to drop it down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. These are set up for gears. And then on top, we have the actual gear workshop. Very, very kind of efficient in the way that it fits together. Then we've got our water storage in our actual inventor's huts. And the idea eventually will be get these water and this hauling post up on top, and then move the actual temple down into the middle. It's kind of the long term, because I want everything inside and just forest outside is for this district. Moving around the corner, we've got 2 paper, and again, small warehouses underneath, and then we've got the next row of actual row houses. And now because it's a little low, you can see the Flame of Progress and the actual labor monument. And on the opposite side of it, we've got 3 grills, and underneath that, once again, if I could, changing time. Sometimes I'm a dunce. Dropping it down again, we have our actual storage underneath. Same here with our 4 storages, and then on top of it, we have our shredder, our printing press, and our 2 explosives factory, which is what feeds everything. And that's kind of our route down. Is this area right here is probably going to be forest in the future, getting ready for the river right here. And you can see it's just kind of a very epic waterfall. And the plan going forward is once this block is done, start on the next block, which is probably just going to be a district just to feed. And it's probably going to be progressing with this all the way down to here, the same height as just a power plant, where it's going to be the only people up here are going to be people just maintaining building of this, and they're going to stay there. And then I've got to look at other areas, but this is my test city where I'm actually looking to build things and just kind of test out how things work. So again, it's on normal. And from here, it's time to actually move into something a little bit more difficult for an actual playthrough, because that's just my style. I like the challenge. You know, the whole idea of getting power from the actual water wheels or getting power from the windmills, it's really the water wheels and the windmills are just too inconsistent for me. So probably going forward, what you're going to see is, even though I use the water to maintain the green, which is important, going forward, you're probably going to see a tall build like this where we're building on top of water, but we're probably going to get away from the water altogether, especially if we're playing on hard and we have 3 days of actual water and 12 days to 17 days of drought, where we focus on more engines and other things just to maintain what we want. Because a city like this, I mean, we could really go for a lot of population and go for wheels if we wanted. Or we can go for a super tall empire, build it up like this, and then kind of where you get the big tall, and then you get like a big wide span of things like trees and other things to maintain. And that's what I think we're going to do, is where we could just do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative, more industrial. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode where we start out a hard game. And it might be a day or two as things are kind of settling, but if you have a map you'd like to see, feel free to put it down in the comments down below. Have a great night.